Changed the World by Reedworks. Glaciers are large masses of ice that can be found in either the oceans or on the land. These large bodies of frozen water have big effects on the formation of different parts of the world, especially valleys. Valleys were formed during the Ice Age, a time where many places were cold and covered with ice. As the Ice Age ended, the glaciers began to melt. As they did, they left behind unique land formations. Glaciers are formed from large amounts of snow and ice. Because of the Ice Age was a time of freezing temperatures, glaciers became very common in many parts of the world. They were especially common in North America and Europe. As these masses of ice grew, they began to cover large areas of land. Some glaciers came together to form bigger ones, just like different streams of water joined to form bigger rivers. As they slowly moved, these massive glaciers began to shape the landscape. Glaciers shape the landscape during a process called erosion. Erosion is the result of the friction of wind, water, or in this case, ice against rocks and soil. Glaciers changed many landscapes, leaving behind waterfalls and moraines, which are very rocky landscapes created by glacial debris. They created places that had U-shapes or valleys. Valleys have very steep, high land ranges with flat land in the middle. They are very common in North America and Northern Europe. Yosemite National Park in California is one of the most famous valleys in the world. Other famous valleys are in Scotland and Austria. But these landscapes could not have been seen until thousands of years ago, when the Ice Age came to an end and the Earth started to naturally warm up. As temperatures began to rise, some of the glaciers melted and the U-shaped valleys began to appear. Most of these valleys had existed before the Ice Age, but they had a V shape because they had been created through erosion by water flowing in rivers. But the glaciers made these valleys wider and sometimes left behind wider rivers filled with fresh water. Although the Ice Age ended 10,000 years ago, there are still many glaciers in the world. Most of them are found in Antarctica and Greenland, but there are glaciers on nearly every continent. Today, many glaciers are either breaking apart or melting. Some scientists say this could be because of the climate change caused by humans. Just as they did thousands of years ago, glaciers changed the landscape of many places. Many geologists are keeping an eye on these melting glaciers to see how the Earth may be affected by them. Questions: How glaciers changed the world. Number 1. What is a glacier? Is it A, a large mass of ice found only on land? B, a large mass of ice found only in water? C, a large mass of ice found on land or in water? Or D, a feature of the Ice Age that no longer exists? Number 2. What does the author describe at the beginning of the passage? A, how glaciers were formed. B, how erosion shapes landscapes. C, why glacier began to melt. Or D, why geologists monitor glaciers. Number 3. Glaciers can have different effects on the landscape. What evidence from the passage supports this conclusion? A, many valleys existed before the Ice Age, but had V-shapes instead of U-shapes. B, the effects of glaciers could not be seen until the Ice Age ended. C, a valley is a landscape with steep, high land ranges and flat land in the middle. Or D, valleys and moraines are 2 examples of glacial landscapes. Number 4. What can be concluded about the effect of glaciers on valleys during the Ice Age? A, the glaciers changed the location of the valleys. B, the glaciers changed the shape of the valleys. C, the glaciers had no effect on the valleys. Or D, the glaciers made the valleys smaller. 5. What is this passage mostly about? A, how the Ice Age created glaciers. B, the process of erosion. C, glaciers and how they changed landscapes. Or D, valleys, waterfalls, and moraines. Six, read the following sentences. Some glaciers came together to form bigger ones, just like different streams of water joined to form bigger rivers. As they slowly moved, these massive glaciers began to shape the landscape. What does the word massive mean? A, very cold. B, very big. C, medium size. Or D, important. 7. Choose the answer that best completes the sentence below. Melting glaciers can have large effects on the landscape. Blank. Geologists are monitoring them closely. Would you fill in the blank with A, moreover, B, currently, C, on the other hand, or D, as a result? Number 8. Provide a definition of what is erosion. What is erosion? Number 9. What caused glaciers to begin to melt? And number 10. Explain how glaciers created U-shaped valleys during the Ice Age. Make sure to use complete sentences and respond repeating the prompt for questions number 8 through 10.